Yes, hello, and welcome to Release the Creative, your favorite show about creativity, cognition, and this week, reboots, remakes, and recycled content.
You love your alliteration.
I do. I'm not entirely sure where that comes from.
Comic books. That comes from comic books.
But I didn't read comic books as a kid. Like, my parents wouldn't let me.
It is this cultural osmosis. Well, maybe comics do it because it's innate to the human brain.
What's really funny, so I was writing the book last year, as you know, you were here. So I wrote poetry as a kid, like a lot of poetry. Everyone writes their, like, I'm sad in my bedroom poem, but like, I've written thousands. I was published as a poet when I was a kid. I really liked, and I'm the only person I know, the author, my book is it's a nonfiction business book that like I would restructure sentences over and over because they didn't flow correctly. I was like, I need another 2-syllable word, has to start with K and it has to mean this. And they're like, why just change the word? No. It wouldn't fit.
Well, I don't write poetry, but you know how long I obsess over 3 or 4 frames in a video edit.
Yeah, that was me writing my book. It was fun. Yeah, I do love my alliterations. I like the way that words sound. I like the way that words can affect. Anyway, but this week we are talking about reboots, remakes, and recycled content. And I'll start off with this just to say, everyone jumps to, well, there's only like 7 plot lines, which is true. There's only 7 plot lines. But like, we've taken it to a new level where like we take the same movie and just keep remaking it. A Star is Born has been made like 5 times. It might be 4, but like a lot. And Bradley Cooper's like, I want a directorial debut, really leave my mark on the world. You know what I'm going to do? Make the same movie that's been made with Barbra Streisand and everyone else and make it with Lady Gaga. That's how I'm going to do this differently.
Feel safe.
Since when is safe what we should be going for? Like, why is safe the goal here?
Well, that's how you make money, is you play it safe, right? I don't know.
So there I was, 2008 at the Cannes Film Festival. That's really sad that that's true. But and I was talking to the head of Paramount Acquisitions, whose name I have forgotten. No, sorry, not Acquisitions. My boss was Acquisitions. That was Joe Matukowicz. I remember him. Okay. It was development. I was talking to his boss, his cohort, and head of development, and he said the saddest day of his career was when he realized that if the script for his favorite movie came across his desk, he wouldn't greenlight it because it didn't meet the criteria to be greenlit. It didn't.
It's at the mercy of the algorithms.
And he was talking the 90s before there were algorithms are older than the 90s, but like before now we talk about algorithms, we're talking TikTok and LinkedIn and YouTube. And no, he's like, yeah, if I opened up this script and I read the coverage, I couldn't. He was talking about Bulworth, by the way. The specific movie that's his favorite movie. That was his favorite movie. He's like, my favorite movie growing up was Bulworth. And he's like, which I have not seen. I've not seen Bulworth. But he's like, yeah, if Bulworth came across my thing, Warren Beatty, classic, awesome political satire, I could not greenlight it, which is tragic to me because the success metrics have changed. And I
saw on Reddit last week that 3 years ago, a guy pitched a Rick Moranis cartoon to Cartoon Network, and they batted it around for 2 years. And Rick
Moranis was on board?
No. They were just kind of batting it around for like in light development. They came up with some concept sketches, and the guy that created it was a contest. It was like a submit, complete unknown. He submitted this idea, and they messed with it for 2 years, and then they finally said, you know what, we don't think Rick Moranis can carry a show these days. And when that news came out, the
youngest person to watch that show would be me.
Yeah, well, so they might be right, but on the other hand, the Reddit audience greatly disagreed. They have the pitch. They put the pitch video on Reddit, and everybody thought it sounded amazing.
So my opinion of Reddit was always that they were 12-year-olds, but maybe we are the aggregate age of Reddit.
It's I think it's half 12-year-olds, half 35-year-olds. Yes,
because like when Ghostbusters 2 came out, I was 12,
10-ish, younger, probably 9. Yeah.
I was born in 82. The first one was 86. The
first one was 84.
The first one was 84.
The second one was about, I think, 89.
Okay, so yeah, I was 8.
Yeah.
I was 8. So I remember Rick Moranis like in the goo, and I remember Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. That was 92.
It's
I think
that was 88 or 89, the first one, and then there was the sequels in
gotcha.
the 90s.
I grew up with Rick Moranis, but if all of a sudden, if I showed my daughters Rick Moranis, they haven't seen Strange Brew. They don't know anything about Ghostbusters. And so it's strange how like the content is really like you said, at the mercy of the algorithm. And there's like the human algorithm versus the algorithmic algorithm, the computer, the AI algorithm. Oh man, I'm tired. It's one of those days.
Did that energy drink not kick in yet?
No, it did kick in. So what's happened now is my C4 has gone up, plateaued, and now I'm crashing like 10 minutes later.
Okay, yeah, I'm familiar.
No, so we have content, and we have channel, and we have audience. And the fun part is it's this juggling act. Like a movie will come out and they're like, that movie didn't work. Or a decade later, like, let's reboot this. Or like, so you have a strong opinion about the Star Trek reboot.
This is old news now. This is 12 years ago.
I super understand that, but we here at Release the Creative aren't about the cutting edge. We should just keep reviewing old stuff. That's how you get better at it.
Okay, we'll do it again.
Sure. Like, talk to me about, like, it's the same characters, it's the same concept, it's the same setting, it's the same platform. All they did was reskin it for us millennials, because originally it was very much a Gen Z, a Gen X, almost late boomer.
Yeah, well,
how did millennializing? No, that's not a word. Millennializing break it.
So, well, the reason I'm not hesitant, but why it's tough to jump into this debate is that a lot of Star Trek fans will write out, say, oh, I hate what JJ did because he turned it into an action movie.
Yes,
this isn't what Star Trek is about. It's big, it's dumb, it's explosions. Like, it's not Star Trek, and I hate it. I'm not one of those critics.
Okay.
So right off the bat, I want to say I came in, I liked this movie.
Sure.
It is fun. It was, the best Star Trek movie they had made in many years. And where I don't want to call it criticism comes from, but the way you have to look at it is people looked at it as, oh, it's a continuation of the Star Trek movies that we've been doing in the 80s and the 90s and
sure.
Next Generation.
It was a reboot, not a, yeah.
You have to forget all that. It's not that. It's Lost in Space. It's the Addams Family movie. It's the Brady Bunch movie. What JJ did is he said, you know what, forget about all this stuff that happened for the past 30 years. I'm going to take this cheesy, candy-colored 60s TV show
right.
and reboot it. And there's a lot of movies that did that where they just skipped 30 years. Like,
I get the Addams Family and Lost. I didn't get the reference. I get the reference now. Okay.
Yeah, so all these movies that were just really old TV shows that no one remembered, and we're going to bring them back as a movie. That's what he did. He brought the 60s TV show to the big screen for the first time, and like you kind of had to ignore the fact that they made Star Trek movies in the 80s and they made 3 shows on TV.
Okay.
And if you're looking at it as a continuation of Deep Space Nine and Voyager, like no, it doesn't.
It doesn't fit.
It doesn't fit that, but it does fit as a cool 60s TV show.
So you don't even see it as a reboot. You see it as a completely alternate, DC alternate universe.
Reboot is almost the right word. It's the same to me as the Will Ferrell Bewitched movie, which I'm sure everyone out there remembers.
Hey, Nicole Kidman at her absolute best.
And
I'm Darren. Sorry.
In a way, it's it's a little bit like the Wild Wild West movie with Will Smith. It's just take an old TV show and bring it into the modern world. And in a way, he did that in the movie. He said, oh, it's an alternate universe and all this, and that kind of helped explain it to the average Trek fan. But I think a lot of people still, it's hard to get over. You're like, oh, I just watched the Captain Picard movie 3 years ago, and now this doesn't fit with that. And so when I say that I have caveats about the 2009 Star Trek, what I mean is you have to enjoy it in that way. And I really do enjoy it in that way.
Okay. So the one that I always love is one of my favorite movies growing up is the Pamela Bigelow ultra classic Point Break.
Okay.
Have you seen Point Break?
I have not seen Point Break.
Okay, first off, you're a sinner. But like, Point Break might be the greatest cult classic. Oh man, that is the most dangerous statement to say ever. So
it's a long line.
I repent for that statement, but it is my absolute favorite. It's so good. It's Keanu Reeves at his it's John C. McGinley before Scrubs.
Oh, that's special.
Right? It's Anthony Kiedis of Red Hot. Well, the entire band Red Hot Chili Peppers plays cameos in it as a surfer gang. Like it is the most delightfully trashy Venice beach surf movie disguised as a cop drama.
Okay.
And I love it. I can quote the entire movie. And it did well. It didn't do great. It wasn't a box office smash. It's a cult classic, but it did not do well. So a few years later, they remade it, and people are like, "Oh yeah, they made it in that awful 2008, 2010 way, or 2014, whatever." A few years ago, they made it again. That's not what I mean. I mean they remade it as Fast and the Furious. What? That's not Fast and the Furious isn't a remake of Point Break. How could he even say that? Let's go over this point for point. Undercover officer, one's a cop, one's FBI, is sent undercover into a counterculture, surfing versus cars. He's looking for them, finds the group of clear villains, Red Hot Chili Peppers versus the Asian like triad group. While infiltrating them, befriends a group of more friendly, and then at the end, surprise, the friendlier group is the real criminals, who would then figure out he's a cop, make him hold a heist with them, and at the end, he lets them go because he loves them too. I mean, like, it's point for point, plot point for plot point, the same exact.
My memory's a little fuzzy, but I think you just explained that Miscongeniality is also a Point Break remake.
No.
Not entirely. There's a couple of deviations there, but it's pretty close.
In Miscongeniality, the chick, her best friend would have had to have been the bomber. Which, for the record, you thought she was for a second, Cindy Lou.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't remember how the movie ended. That was not the case.
It ends up being Candice Bergen.
All right, so they played with it though.
They did. Wow.
So
You've blown my mind.
Miscongeniality is a Point Break twist movie.
Other than, I guess, even counterculture, it's even like the you have broken me, dude.
You said there's only 7 plots.
There really is only 7 plot lines. Anyway, okay. But the thing is, all they did is they took the same plot line, same even general age demographic, the 18 to 25-year-old male. They took the same city. They both took place in Los Angeles. But one was street racing, and one was Venice Beach trashy surfers.
Okay.
And they took the same plot, the same basic cast of characters, the same basic everything, and they reskinned it for a new audience. To put this in business speak, which is our whole thing, they didn't change the message at all. They changed the audience. And by changing the audience, they didn't change the channel. The channel was the same. Made a theatrical movie, same basic age range. Keanu Reeves and Paul Walker, for the disparity were about the same level of star.
Yeah.
Like, they really did just reskin the message, point for point, and released it to a different audience. And then when they tried to remake Point Break, same audience, same channel, same thing, that movie flopped. I liked it, but like no one else did. And I didn't like it a lot, but it was fine. Whereas Fast and the Furious found such footing in this, they're like on their 9th movie. They kept making them after Paul Walker died. Like, I mean, it's kind of amazing. The same general concept, plot line, found such teeth in one culture where it completely didn't find it in the other.
Cars are cooler than surfboards.
That is not true. You take it back. Motorcycles are better than both.
Now, I've acquired through cultural osmosis. Does Point Break involves skydiving also, correct?
Yes.
That's what I know about that movie. So when you said they were surfers, I was like, huh, okay. I thought they were skydivers.
So just so we're clear, the entire movie is about surfing. They skydive in one scene.
That's the part that has made it into popular culture.
That's so tragic. That is so tragic. No. Yes, there are 2 skydiving scenes. One where Keanu Reeves jumps out of an airplane with nothing but a revolver, wearing jeans and a flannel, like no parachute, and he like jumps out after Bodhi, played by the late great Patrick Swayze, and he like skydives, and they like do this whole like air wrestling thing, and he survives.
If they skydive twice in a movie, I think it's fair to say it's a movie about skydiving.
No.
In Back to the Future, the title of the movie, they only go Back to the Future one time.
But they're in the... No, that's fair enough point, actually. Now, Terminal Velocity, Charlie Sheen, same basic era.
Okay, yes.
That would be a skydiving movie.
Yeah, that movie, Point Break, and the one with the fighting mountain climbers are all mixed up in my head. Cliffhanger, is that it?
Yeah.
Or is there more than one mountain climbing movie?
No. Cliffhanger, same era. Sylvester Stallone. It's the first R-rated movie I ever saw in my life.
Interesting.
Yeah. I was 12.
I think the first R-rated movie I saw in the theater was The Crow.
Oh no, I didn't see it in the theater. I saw it. I rented it when my parents were like not looking.
Yeah, well, in that case, I don't know what the first R-rated movie I saw was.
No, I did not see The Crow in theaters because my parents would never have let me. But I was that kid who like was super into The Crow. I had the Crow posters.
I had no idea what it was, and my parents would definitely have not let me go. I went with a birthday party.
I was going to say, that is so not your group. Like, who did you even hang out with that was going to see The Crow?
Bijan's birthday, and nice. I mean, we were like 12 or something.
Yeah, we would have been.
Well, 12 or 13, and it was definitely not a movie that I would have seen with my family.
No, I can't imagine your parents watching The Crow for much more than a few minutes. But it's so strange. This, we have these things. Some variations of a movie skyrocket, and other variations of a movie plummet. And sometimes the same message released to different audiences just really gets like grabbed onto and takes off. And other times that same exact and it's not always money. Like sometimes a movie will be backed and flop, and other times these tiny little cult film, Brokeback Mountain had like no budget. I mean, and there's obviously some political like, well, this is why, but like Ang Lee said, this isn't going to go anywhere. No one's going to appreciate a movie about gay cowboys, and it's just not going to in middle class working 1950s America.
I feel like almost every successful movie has that story. Yeah, George Lucas didn't think Star Wars was going to succeed.
Sure.
Nobody expected Iron Man to be a big deal.
Right.
Like, just Back to the Future, I bring up all the time, but they didn't expect a sequel from that. They had no concept it would become popular enough for a sequel. It's almost like if you think your movie's going to fail, that's a really good sign. And if you're
really sure of it,
you're making, what is it, Jupiter Ascending?
Oh my gosh, that movie was awful. I wanted to like it too. I really did.
I remember that the clearest because that was the month that I took that LA trip with my family, and literally every poster in the city was for that movie.
I remember when I was living in LA, I'd have friends come visit me and they're like, I don't understand it. You guys make movies here. Why the hell is every billboard about a movie? Like, why? Like you don't know the movies coming out? You made them. Like, I've seen more movie posters in any block here than I've seen in my entire town back home.
It's the only place where I pull into a parking garage, not at a movie theater, like at a grocery store, and there's a movie poster in the parking garage for the grocery store.
Yep, it's true.
So, well, anyway, we're going to take a quick break right here, and we'll be back in just a minute.
Awesome. Hey, Jeff and I wanted to take a minute just here at the top of the show to say thank you for joining us on our new podcast and YouTube show, Release the Creative. Whether you're new to our brand of crazy or you followed us over from one of our other social media platforms, LinkedIn, Twitch, Facebook, or Twitter, we'd like to thank you for joining us here. Please take this moment to hit the subscribe and the like button and also that funny little notification button so that you can be notified of all our new episodes. We're really trying to get this new show up on the road. Thank you so much for watching. Welcome back, everyone. We are talking about recycled, remade, and reused content, whether it be messaging. I mean, the entire first section was about movies, but we're going to get kind of talking a little bit more about the business side of that and how we can recycle our content.
I happen to have it on good authority that Kirk Westwood himself posts videos on LinkedIn more than once.
Often, and other channels. Well, but I kind of started talking about this a little bit in the first segment, where every message has three legs. It has the content of the message, the soul of the message. It has the channel of the message, and it has the audience of the message. And changing any one of those changes everything. Like, back to my Fast and the Furious example, they didn't change the message. It was the same story. They didn't change the audience. It was the same age range. It was the same basic caliber. It was the same basic budget. They didn't change the city. They took it from the beach to downtown street racing. Like, that's what they changed. And by just changing the kind of, not even the setting, the plot, nothing, by just changing kind of the audience and the interest, it went from a movie that is a cult classic but relatively forgotten to a movie franchise that has spanned two decades, 9 or 10 films now, including a Hobbs and Shaw spinoff. Like, it's incredible. And that's the difference. Same message, same plot, same setting, but just shifting the audience a bit. And we can see that in business as well, where a book, a movie, a product really doesn't do well in America, but they release it in Japan. They didn't change anything but the audience. You could argue that's also a change in channel, and it takes off.
So what's the lesson here? You just
if you're David Hasselhoff, release your album in Europe. That's the clear and obvious.
Yeah, well, in hindsight, but moving forward, you try something, it didn't work. The idea is not to go back to the drawing board every single time, right?
Right. No, I mean, so you release an idea, and the biggest thing that I see people doing is they'll make this message and they will send it to everyone. They will let's make this commercial and we'll make a 30-second promo, a 60-second promo, and a 90-second promo. It's like, rock on. And we'll send it out everywhere. And what they mean is they will put, with no real strategy, they'll put it just out everywhere. They really will. They'll post it everywhere. They're like, yeah, it really didn't work. Because they're just rocket blasting channel. They're rocket blasting audience. They're rocket blasting everything. They're just blasting it.
Shotgun.
And I'm not saying that's never going to work, but that's not going to work reliably enough to make it worth it.
Yeah.
So, if you're doing content and you're trying to raise your business profile, and you're doing content for LinkedIn and you're doing content for TikTok, I'm doing both. It's not the same content. Some of it's the same message. Like, some of it's the same. I mean, my expertise is my expertise. I am my character.
You're you.
I can't, I don't wear a mustache in one. I should wear a mustache in one. What if, all my TikToks, I was wearing, a Groucho Marx mustache?
I was thinking more Snidely Whiplash kind of.
I'm a fan.
A train villain, bank robber. I don't know.
I like it. I have to get the dog. I'm still me. The message is still the message. My product is still my product. But the audience and the channel, the audience, you could argue, doesn't even change, because my audience, my core client is still the same, but the channel changed. And by changing the channel, I have to change the dressing. I have to change.
You're always talking about what does it reach the customer in their journey?
The journey map.
The journey map. And is that's mostly the customer as they go along their journey, they're traveling through different channels, right?
Yes, but yes, absolutely. So if you think of the channel as my billboard, so I could put a billboard on the side of the road, I could put a billboard on the side of the freeway. If I could have put a bill. So let's take all channels that aren't billboards gone. Now, billboards, we're including the sides of buses, we're including park benches, we're including
any poster.
Billboards. It's a poster. That's what we're talking about. That's the only media type we can play with. And from traditional advertising has us think of it from our perspective. Well, the side of the road is a bigger poster for a little bit more money, but the cost per square inch, I mean, you can't argue with that. So let's put, and then someone else says, well, this bench ad is pretty expensive, but it's on the corner of these two major roads. I mean, the visibility, it's small, but not engagements, the reach, the awareness, the impressions, there it is, the impression count. The other one is huge and in your face, but the impressions on this one is way higher. And we start arguing about impressions versus engagement. Well, how many people called? What is the conversions? What is the engagement? What is the bench is going to have higher engagement. People are going to sit on it. But those are all arguing from the marketer standpoint. That is wrong.
It reminds me of in the Netflix cartoon BoJack Horseman.
Yeah.
He stars in a movie called Secretariat. So the character BoJack is playing Secretariat in a movie, and they're trying to come up with an ad campaign. And they have all these ideas spread out on the table. They're all like magazine ads, and they're all different pictures from the movie. And there's one where it's like a reflective mirror-like surface, and it just says, "You are Secretariat."
I remember that one.
And so you hold it up and look at it, and everybody else is like, "That one sucks. It's terrible." And BoJack, the actor, he's like, "No, this one's the perfect," And they're like, "Of course it's perfect. It's you. You're looking at yourself." And he's like, "No, I'm the star. We're going to do it this way." And so they end up. He was looking at it in magazine form, but they put it on a billboard by the freeway, so it's just a giant mirror over the freeway, and all you can see is the sky. And they're like, "Great, we spent $50,000 to advertise the sky," and then the sun bounces off it and blinds drivers, and there's accidents everywhere. So what worked in a magazine form is disastrous as
different
a
channels.
billboard.
Now, I need to see that episode again. It's been a while. Sorry, I'm just kind of playing that through my head again. But we as marketers, we think about ourselves as our product. We think about ourselves as our push. We think about ourselves as do I want it really big, or do I want it big to break their cycle? Do I want it small where it has more impressions? Do I want it on their app phone where they have to click ignore so that it forces engagement? Like, what do I want? And all three of those, I have been in conversations with clients where I want it really big, I want it really small, I want it really this, I want it forced engagement, I want this, I want passive engagement. And not one time, I'm not saying that nobody does this, I'm saying,
it's rare.
Do they think about what the customer is doing? They're thinking about what they want the customer to be doing, but that's not how that works.
Right.
And the way that I like the example I like the best is iPhones are the market penetration of iPhone is near 50%. Like, I don't know what the actual number is. You might like.
It really depends on, like, if you're looking like in certain wealthy areas of America, it's 80%.
Yeah.
If you're looking worldwide, it's like 20%, and
right.
America, it's like 40%. There's
cool.
You could pick any number you want.
There's a really high market penetration.
Yes, they're out there.
And I bet that if you went to a Renaissance festival anywhere, like the big Maryland one, the Scarsboro Fair in Texas, if you went to a big Ren Fair or any SCA event, you know what an SCA event is. If you don't, Google it. Don't Google it. Chances are there's a pretty high percentage of people, be it 20% to 80% of the people at this event that have an iPhone. But if you were there and you saw ye old Apple store on the, in like a tent, and there was some guy there like dressed as Steve Wozniak in a tunic. For the record, I have no trouble actually imagining that.
You will definitely see someone that looks like Steve Wozniak dressed as a tunic at the Maryland Renaissance Fair.
Exactly. And you look over and there's all these wooden tables and flagons of ale and the brand new iPad, like, that wouldn't work. And I'm not saying that it's not that, we failed to identify our audience. No, you didn't. Your audience is there, I promise. It wasn't our niche. Your niche was there, I promise. Your audience was there, your niche, your people, you had a captive audience there. The problem that everyone, this is an insane example because everyone's like, no, they wouldn't do that because it makes no sense. This one is an extreme example, but people still do this all the time. They spend all their money getting the impressions they want of the exact right audience at the exact wrong place. Like, it doesn't matter if your customer broke their iPhone getting out of the car at the Maryland Renaissance Festival, you're probably not going to sell them an iPhone at the Maryland Renaissance Festival. That's not where their head is.
Right.
So we need to be a little bit less worried. The question isn't, do I put this on a billboard? The question is, the people on the road that this billboard is on, why are they in their car? Are they going to work? Is this the road to the beach, or is this the road to downtown? Is this the road? Is this between rest stop 74 and mile marker 75? Like, where is this billboard? And the billboard doesn't matter. The billboard and the bench ad don't matter. What matters isn't how many people will see this. It's not how many people will engage with this. It's where are they in their head when they do, which is why, like, if you pay a Cessna to drag a banner over the beach that says 2 for 1 margaritas at the Joe's Crab Shack down the street, it's a really good advertising because for a fact that almost everyone that sees that is already on the beach and is already interested in what you are offering. They have self-selected.
Yeah.
If that same thing had said refinance your home at Jim and Tony's across town, it's not
a lot of takers.
It's not that these people might not be it was a local beach. He knew it was a local beach. You found the right channel. This is a good channel. You found your audience. Sorry, you found a good audience. But it wasn't the channel for this. So a lot of times I see people throwing out their campaigns and throwing out their ideas or throwing everything because it didn't work, when what they had done is the message was fine, but their audience they got wrong, or their message was fine and their audience was right, but their channel they got wrong, or their channel, like, It's troubling.
My favorite place to see this, and this is not a problem because they're doing it for different reasons, but if you ever go to any high school event, like a choral event or a football game, they have the program, and parents have bought ads in the programs, and they're doing it to support their child.
That's a different story, but yes, I see where you're going with this.
They're not doing it wrong, but it's the most amazing
tax attorneys
mismatch of tax attorneys, dentists, and like florists and takeout pizza, and like some of these fit, but some of them are you're like, why are you advertising at a basketball game? And like,
because my dad,
they're contributing to the team. Like, it makes sense, but it is a good example of what you're talking about.
No, and it's, you and I, had this conversation a few years ago, and we've referenced it a few times, but if you are in the DC area ever, and you are riding the metro, may God have mercy on your soul, and you're on the blue line, and you stop at Pentagon, get off the metro. The security's not till the other outside, so you can do that. They're not going to jump on you. Get off the metro at the Pentagon, stand till the next train and get back on it, and look around. And this is the most hysterical thing to me, because you see these posters, and they're for like Lockheed Martin, Boeing,
with a picture of a $40 million jet.
Right? They're like, when quality matters, Boeing. And you're like, that's a $40 million like. Who are they advertising to? And then you realize that 4-star generals use that metro stop.
That ad is for like 3 guys to look at.
But the thing is that there's nowhere else that you can get a bench ad that those 3 guys are going to see it. like, I want those 3 guys and their staffs, their personnel,
staffs,
to see, it's so amazing to me. Like, usually you see park bench ads or those bus shelter ads, and they're always like bail bondsmen, realtors, sandwich places, that kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden you get to the Pentagon, and it's like legit massive government contractors, and it makes sense in context, but you still think about it, you're like, that's ridiculous. That ad is targeted at a dozen people, maybe, because they found their channel.
That was it.
I don't know that it was effective, but they found it.
Well, they keep doing it, so it must be doing something.
Something, yeah.
We're going to take our last little quick break. We'll be right back. All right, and we're back for our last segment. This week, we're still talking about advertising channels, really, is where we kind of come around to, right?
Repurposing your content and channel strategies, because when you have your product, you have the message and the need of the product, you have the audience of the product, and you have the content there. And too often people get rid of an idea because they failed to identify the audience, or they got the audience and they got the right idea, but they failed, like the content of the message was wrong. And it takes real testing. It takes real finessing of, okay, are we selling it to this group because that's who found us? Or are we selling it to this group because that's who we think needs it? It's
really tempting. Our history is littered with projects that we spent a lot of time on and they got so response. And it's a good lesson is like, maybe we should go back and revisit some of them.
Right. No, because people love to criticize their failures. They love to move on quickly from a perceived mistake to show they learned their lesson. And often what they're actually showing is that they did not learn their lesson at all. That it was a false positive, or it was a false negative.
Sometimes we had a accidental example of this over the last few months. What was it? I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, we did one of those Doritos ad commercials.
Oh, absolutely.
Like it was the
make a Dorito ad for the Super Bowl contest.
Yeah, we made 2 Doritos ads to submit to the Super Bowl contest, and we didn't win. Cool, we had fun. We put them on
the other 40,000 people. Yeah,
we put them on YouTube 5 years ago, and they had a certain number of views. They were doing okay, and then over these last 6 months, one of them got like 5 million views.
Yeah, we went from that one had like 60, 70,000 ish,
and it just shot up over the summer.
And it's 5 years old, 9 years old. It's 9 years old, 2011.
Is that old? Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's 2011, and it got 5 million views this summer for no particular reason that I know of.
Like I would say, well, YouTube started suggesting it, but YouTube was suggesting it because people were watching it.
Right.
So it somehow got a little bit of claws in the dirt, and like it just shot up. And like this is not super relevant to us. It's like, okay, cool, an old thing we did. People are watching.
It was a fun thing that we did a long time ago.
We didn't do anything. It's like what other gems do we have in our history that we could bring back and people would like?
And it's it actually goes back to, we talked a few weeks ago about the misaligned memories, Dr. Carmen Simon, and how she told me, are you as creative as the strength of your memories? And the way she recommended stoking your creativity was not just take pictures and write in a journal, but always go back and revisit that to keep old ideas new and keeping your brilliance fresh. And I'd say that this all, go back and revisit projects. And just because a project didn't do what you wanted to, I'm not saying maybe keep throwing that project out. Maybe the project was flawed, but don't throw away the idea. What's his name?
Steve McQueen.
Bradley Cooper. Thank you.
I was close.
You were. For the record, Bradley Cooper could play. No, not anymore. Young Bradley Cooper could have played Steve McQueen. He is now older than Steve McQueen was when he died. But Bradley Cooper, for his directorial debut, wanted to make his mark on the world with a movie that had been made 5 times. And for the record, he won an Academy Award, so he wasn't wrong. Sometimes the message, sometimes leaving a different twist on the message is enough. Sometimes taking a message, Fast and the Furious, Point Break to Fast and Furious, sometimes the same message, twisting it to do a new audience is enough. And sometimes there are a lot, I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole. There's a lot of times that a movie wasn't working, and so what they did is they chopped it up into a mini series and released it on Netflix, and it became this massive, huge success because they didn't change the message and they didn't change the style or anything. They changed the channel because now it was
the way you experience it.
The way you experience it, because it was never going to be a big $200 million, $400 million, $8 million blockbuster. But you know what? It was a perfect Netflix and chill, kind of like have a glass of wine and watch a documentary about chasing down Nazis. Like those, if you Google Netflix documentaries about like crazy things, there's so many documentaries about anything you name. None of those would have ever made it into theaters, but they find lots of success in channel online. So it's about knowing your channel, knowing your audience, and knowing your message. And just because something doesn't match, you have to look at all 3 of those independently. And that's
good.
The lesson.
Good advice. Well, something to think about all week. We are going to sign off for now. Just want to throw out there that if you are listening to us on the Release the Creative podcast, you should look us up on YouTube and watch our pretty faces.
And if you are watching us on YouTube, we're also a podcast. So
yeah, so
that goes both ways.
One way or the other. Look for us in other places.
Multi-channel.
Multi-channel. Lesson of the day.
Lesson of the day.
All right. Awesome. We'll see you next week.
Talk to them.
Thanks for joining us here at Release the Creative. Kirk here would never say it to your face, but he thinks you should like and subscribe to us on YouTube.
And Jeff is far too shy to admit it, but he thinks you should subscribe to us on your favorite podcast reader.
Yeah? Well, you're the one who's always saying that everyone should give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts.
Why do you have to make everything so difficult?